Between 2024 and 2025, a specific strategy became the standard. Buyers sat on the sidelines, hoarding cash in their bank accounts, waiting for a massive property crash to reset the market. That crash never arrived. Instead, the cost of waiting began to move faster than most people could save, creating a gap that many first-time buyers will now never close. You can see this competitive reality at any local auction today. We are looking at streets packed with hundreds of buyers, fighting over a supply that hasn't kept pace with demand. To understand why the market didn't break, we have to look past simple supply and demand. By 2026, the Australian housing market is being steered by three invisible macroeconomic levers. Applying the tactics of a few years ago to this current environment creates a significant risk, where a lack of understanding of these three levers turns a standard purchase into a mistake, costing hundreds of thousands in lost equity and interest. The first lever starts with international trade pressures. Aggressive foreign tariffs influence global inflation rates, which creates a chain reaction that hits domestic economies. To manage the resulting domestic economic pressure, the Reserve Bank of Australia is forced to adjust its strategy. Their primary response is to cut the official interest rates. When the RBA announces a cut, even by a fraction of a percent, the math behind a home loan changes instantly. This chart shows the result. A small drop in the interest rate translates into an immediate, aggressive surge in a buyer's total borrowing power. This sudden access to new capital allows millions of potential buyers to flood the entry-level market simultaneously. A rate cut designed to provide economic relief paradoxically triggers a massive price surge, often adding $100,000 to the cost of a starter home in a matter of weeks. To keep this influx of capital from overheating the market entirely, the government uses lever 2 to throttle the flow of money. This pipeline illustrates the OPRA debt-to-income ratio. It regulates how much a bank can legally lend compared to your gross earnings. Regardless of falling interest rates, the DTI limit provides a hard cap, physically preventing buyers from borrowing beyond a specific multiple of their salary. While first-time buyers are hitting this regulatory wall, established investors are facing the impact of the May 2026 budget. New capital gains tax changes have been introduced to penalize those holding on to multiple residential properties, aimed at increasing the cost of long-term hoarding. These same rules have shifted the landscape for commercial property, turning what were once stable investments into high-risk tax scenarios for many portfolio holders. For investors who over-leveraged before these changes, the threat is negative equity, where the actual value of the property no longer covers the debt owed to the bank. This creates a perfect squeeze, a regulatory ceiling for new buyers at the bottom, and heavy taxation on the exit strategies for investors at the top. In response to this pressure, buyers are looking for lever 3. They are finding microscopic cracks in the regulatory wall to maintain their borrowing capacity. This involves leveraging expanded government guarantee schemes, which allow buyers to enter the market with a minimal deposit, effectively bypassing the years of saving that used to be mandatory. There's a shift toward house sharing rules. This diagram shows how renting a spare room generates new taxable revenue. By factoring this income into the loan application, a buyer artificially shifts their DTI limit upward, unlocking loan amounts previously blocked by their base salary. Larger investors are countering the CGT squeeze with more sophisticated structures, using self-managed super funds and debt recycling to protect their underlying assets. Surviving this market has moved beyond finding a house you like. It is now heavily dependent on how effectively a buyer can navigate these regulatory loopholes. The Australian housing market now operates as a technical system of financial and regulatory arbitrage. Success in this system requires identifying target zones where government infrastructure spending creates high-growth micromarkets. In this environment, a high salary is no longer a guarantee of ownership. A buyer earns their place in the market by navigating APR restrictions and mastering guarantee schemes better than the competition. The 2026 market proves that the housing bubble didn't burst to let new players in. Instead, the fundamental rules of who is allowed to buy property were permanently rewritten.